In this episode, I'm going to discuss the Ghanaian Empire. While many textbooks refer to this empire as the Kingdom of Ghana, it clearly has all the hallmarks that make an empire. I will switch between the two and also refer to it by its given name, but more on that later. This empire has a rich history of more than 800 years, so to make our exploration reasonable, I'm going to focus on the geography of the region, the effect of the trans-Saharan trade route, and hypotheses of the empire's downfall. Throughout this episode, I'll be referring to a concept that you may have learned in 6th grade, human-environment interaction. As a refresher, human-environment interaction is the relationship between people and geography, which includes climate around them. This interaction works both ways, with people affecting and changing the environment, but also the environment affecting people. I turned to several sources to develop a depth of knowledge and understanding of the region in the time period. First, the textbook, The Medieval World and Beyond, was an effective summary of the Ghanaian Empire and brought out details connected to my focus of geography, the trade route, and the downfall of the empire. I also referred to high school world history textbook, World History Connections to Today, Volume 1. The Wikipedia article, Ghanaian Empire, provided details that neither of the textbook did. Last, Mr. Snyder, my student teacher, when I was researching about the empire, had coursework on African history and was able to help me with pronunciation. The Kingdom of Ghana began sometime in the 300s CE, though the exact beginning is debatable, and it would be conquered in the 1100s CE. While many sources refer to this kingdom as Ghana, that was actually the title of the ruler. Its proper name was Ouagadougou. At its height, it was a proper empire, with client states, other kingdoms it controlled around it. It occupied a region that was located in the current African nations of southwest Mauritania and western Mali. Ouagadougou was located in the V created by the Senegal and Niger rivers to the south and bordered to the north by the Saharan Desert. Geographers and historians refer to this region as sub-Saharan Africa, with the prefix sub meaning below. As we move south from the Sahara Desert, there is a progression of different geographic layers. The first is known as the Sahel, which was a semi-desert comprised of grasslands and shrubbery. It was important to note that the desert or semi-desert is not defined by temperature, but by precipitation. After the Sahel, the next layer was the savanna, which was composed of tall grass and occasional trees. South of the Senegal and Niger rivers would be a rainforest. Trans-Saharan trade refers to the system of trade routes that crossed the Sahara Desert and converged in Ouagadougou. There's evidence that there were attempts to trade prior to the introduction of the camel in the 7th century CE, even going as far back as the ancient world, the time of the Roman Empire and earlier. With the camel, however, trade routes stabilized, as much as to be expected considered they crossed the Sahara Desert. The use of the camel to adapt to hazards of desert crossing is an example of human-environment interaction. The system of trade routes were exploited by Arab merchants in North Africa. While there were other wares sought by these merchants, the primary commodity was salt mined by the slaves to Gaza. They would trade for gold from the gold mines of Wangara. Striving for natural resources like gold and salt is another example of human-environment interaction. The need or want of these resources affects the behavior of people in West and North Africa. Taxation on trade going both south towards Wangara and going back towards North Africa, apologize for misspeaking, allowed the rulers of Ouagadougou to amass wealth. The proximity of Ouagadougou with natural resources of salt and gold is another example of human-environment interaction. Additionally, the wealth contributed to urbanization, which is the development of cities and encouraged expansion and empire building. This wealth is evident in the capital, or what historians hypothesize was the capital, of Kombi Sala. It actually was two separate towns, the town of Kombi and the Kamasala, but their close proximity made them, in effect, one urban center. Al-Bakri, a geographer and historian from North Africa, who had traveled to the city in 1067 and 68 CE described it as a major educational center and trade hub. One region of the city, known as El Gaba, Arabic for the forest, was the political and spiritual center of Kombi Sala. It was walled, separated itself from the rest of the city, with many dome buildings, including a mosque for visiting Muslims. It also included what was described as a grand palace for the ruler. Eventually, though, all things must come to an end. The exact when and how is not currently known. Based on what I've learned, I would surmise that Wagadu would collapse due to both external and internal pressures. Internally, it struggled over governing and maintaining such a large empire. Externally, strong rivals would emerge to challenge its dominance. First, invaders from North Africa, and finally, the successor empire of Mali would absorb the once mighty Wagadu Empire. So there you have it. Honestly, this is a quick summary of the history of Wagadu, and there's a lot missing. While we didn't explore specific leaders or events, I am hopeful that it gives you some insight into the concept of human-environment interaction through describing the effect of landforms, climate, and the location of certain natural resources, gold and salt, and how that affected the development of this place.